have a humongous social media following. You know, you're top of the class in regards to influencers, and I guess that would have a lot of social responsibility as well, constantly having to think about how this is being perceived by the bigger public. Hi!
We're getting a hello. A car next to us.
How much time do you actually spend on thinking about these things? Like, is it just simply take a photo, post, or do you actually have a think about, you know, how your image is being portrayed by the outside of the world, the influence that it's having on someone?
I guess it's a journey. I guess it's a bit like finding an outfit in the morning. You know, some mornings it's easy and it just sort of falls together, and other mornings you're tearing the wardrobe apart looking for something to put on.
I swear I had something in here.
So yeah, when it comes to posting, sometimes it's a no-brainer, but I definitely catch myself overthinking it sometimes, and overthinking what the caption should be and what I should accompany it with.
Okay.
And I also feel like there's so much pressure as someone that is body positive and influential to write something inspirational every time you post, or often.
Yeah.
Sometimes comes naturally and the words just pour out of you.
Yeah.
But I've gotten to a point where they'll pour out of me if I'm doing something like this, or I'm doing an interview, or I'm writing an opinion piece or something. But when it comes to captions, I think I've just sort of exhausted it, and I feel like whatever I say will just come from a place of being forced. Like it's not natural. So I definitely consider modeling to be an art form.
Yeah.
And I think when you pose and when you put on different outfits and when you're in front of a camera, it is really a form of self-expression. So if I post a photo, I'll want to put some emojis or put a little title with it that sort of encapsulates what that image is about. Just like when you go to a gallery and there's a title to the image.
And another thing I think that a lot of influencers struggle with is how much you share online. And you've been quite open about mental health.
My God.
You have been quite open about it. And
Yeah.
I guess I really wanted to touch on that. You know, a lot of the girls I've spoken to have had issues with trolls, and they've spoken to me about how they've dealt with that.
Yeah.
And, you know, you were quite open about your mental health journey just recently. Are you able to, I guess, give us an insight into, you know, what kind of triggered that episode, and what helped you get through that really, really rough time? Which it was, I guess I only saw it from an exterior perspective. I couldn't even begin to imagine what it was like.
Before I tell you, can I be the one to ask you?
Yes, friend. Oh, I'm getting questioned back.
You're going to get interrogated. No, don't worry. So, okay, from my perspective and my journey, I was looking at it from a totally different perspective from what my followers or my friends or outside people were seeing it. So I'm just interested from where you stood, what you took away from it and what you thought I might have been going through. Does that make sense?
Well, I guess I witnessed you in quite a distraught emotional state by particularly the stories that you were sharing, and for me it was a cause for concern because I hadn't actually seen you in that state previously.
Yeah, because you knew me as well.
I knew you
me in person.
Yeah, and I didn't actually know that something was going on in the background, and it was quite a shock. And I remember reaching out to you, and you know, it's almost like I almost felt a little bit of guilt as well for not knowing.
Yeah.
But there's no way I could have.
Yeah.
And
I was in a different state at the time as well. I was in a different state of mind as well, but I was in the Australian Capital Territory, and you would have been in Victoria at the time of my second
states,
episode.
as in like states apart.
Yeah, literally.
So yeah, I guess my initial was cause for concern. There was the guilt aspect of not knowing, because I know you, and I would have hoped that I would have caught on to something like that, because I think I'm emotionally in tune with things, but
yeah, an empath.
Empath, exactly.
Yeah.
Take on too much emotion sometimes, but yeah, that's kind of like my initial thoughts of when I saw it, and I thought it was very courageous of you to be, you know, considering your status within the world, Stefania, to be sharing that side.
Yeah.
I thought that was extremely courageous.
It's funny because if I went back and I was more self-aware and in the current state I am in, I don't think I would have shared it. But the fact that I was in an altered state of reality and I was out of touch with the world and what was going on sort of led me to, you know, I wasn't really overthinking what I was posting. I was posting all kinds of things that came from all kinds of places within me, like quite traumatized places and places I didn't even know I had. And so I didn't have that sort of filter where I went, wait a second, this could corrupt my entire business I've created and my image. But because I was in that state, well, I'm just going to sort of start from the beginning and explain how I got there and what it was exactly that happened. Okay, so in 2016, I had 2 episodes of psychosis. Yeah. Psychosis is when you lose touch with reality, and you basically become psychotic. You don't know what's real. It can be accompanied with hallucinations, whether they're auditory or visual. Okay. So I hallucinated as well. I didn't know who to trust. I just didn't know what was real and what was coming in my mind, what was in my mind. Because to me, everything was real. But from someone that was standing next to me, they would have just thought, she's just. It's the sort of thing you see in movies. Okay. It's not right. It was very full on for the people around me at the time. So
you couldn't differentiate between reality and what was actually going on
being created in my head. Yeah. Wow. So I
have goosebumps, by the way. Yeah. Honestly.
I really was not. I was not me. I was not even. Mental illness is something that you really don't have control over. I mean, it would have been, great to go, I know that's not real. But the thing is, things I was seeing or hearing or doing, I was convinced they were real, and to someone else, they just didn't exist. And I was totally bonkers. I went to psychosis twice, like I said. Yeah. And the first time I went into psychosis, I was actually in Melbourne. It was the start of 2016. And leading up to it, I was in a mania. And now mania is, you don't totally lose touch with reality. You're still quite aware, but you're in a very heightened state of reality. So everything seems very extreme. Colors are really bright. Sounds are really much louder. Everything's vivid. Everything's hyper real. Songs are playing on the radio just for you. Everything's so bright and amazing and everything's wonderful, but you're still very much in reality. Psychosis, on the other hand, has got elements of mania, but you're no longer in reality.
Okay.
So my first one, I was in mania for quite some time, and then the mania turned into a full-blown psychosis. And the doctors at the time thought perhaps she's bipolar. Okay. So they thought that I might have been bipolar, and I was all gung-ho, yes, I'll embrace that, whatever. I didn't really know because I wasn't totally aware. And for some time, I just thought that everyone else was crazy and I was the sane one. So how did I get into psychosis? Now, psychosis, there's so many factors that can cause it. Extreme levels of stress. It can be drug-induced. It can come from a pre-existing mental condition. There's so many reasons, but I can't think of them off the top of my head at the moment. Yeah. So mine, they deemed to have been caused by a mixture of stress and drug abuse. Okay. So since I was 19, started smoking marijuana. Yeah. And I just want to put it out there that I don't smoke it anymore, for obvious reasons. Yeah. So I started smoking when I was 19, and I thought weed was incredible, and I was never much of a drinker. Okay. I had tried a couple of other types of drugs here and there, but weed was sort of my thing. Yeah. And I started smoking it a lot, and in times of heightened anxiety, because I think everyone gets a little bit of anxiety and stress. Yeah. And for me, I definitely am quite prone to getting quite upset or anxious or stressed, and I would just reach for a joint and I would smoke. But I was also doing it as just something that I enjoyed. Okay. In the evening.
So it was almost had the numbing effect for anxiety to keep you in check.
Yeah,
and then
for sure.
Also a bit of a hobby on the side.
But I don't know if that's because I was telling myself that or it genuinely was good for me. Okay. But the thing is, in Australia, weed and marijuana is just not regulated. Yep. I don't know who I was getting it off of. I didn't know where it was coming from. I didn't know if it was mixed with things. But it just, in the end, I started smoking it morning to evening because there was a lot of things going on in my life that were really stressful. And so I just started smoking so much. And the stress and the marijuana led me into into a full-blown psychosis.
Episode. Wow. So when you had been admitted into the ward, do you refer to it as a psych ward or like
I call it like a mental hospital. I don't know what the politically correct term for it is.
Well, we're trying to be politically correct here, but what was the process? So you went in and you were going through a full-blown state of psychosis.
Yeah, so the first one, my partner, it definitely wasn't my second psychosis was definitely the worst one.
Yeah.
The first one I was in, I was much more elevated, and although I had lost touch with reality, my partner was my primary carer and the doctors deemed him fit enough to look after me.
Okay, yep.
And I only went into hospital on day admission for them to check me out, talk to my partner, and he definitely looked after me through that. Other things happened as well, which are just very complicated, I'm not going to get into, but the second time I was at home in Canberra, and it was much more of a sort of tortured psychotic episode.
You would have been back home with your family?
Yeah,
is that correct?
I was.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah.
But I definitely wasn't as elevated and happy as the previous one.
Because the mania wasn't as...
Yeah, because the mania was the precursor to the first psychosis, and I'm not 100% sure if I went into mania before I went into psychosis the second time in the latter half of 2016.
Okay.
But I was much more tortured and much more angry and filled with hatred, and it was just a completely different experience. So how I ended up in the mental institution was my friend decided that she would take me for a sleepover and try and help me because she knew I was getting very sick.
Okay.
And so
you didn't admit yourself, it was someone else that thought it would be a good idea.
Okay. It's a fuck story. So I went to her house for a sleepover, and I just got crazier and crazier that night, to the point where my friends didn't know how to look after me or control me or what to do with me, and they saw me as quite dangerous and out of control. So they actually had to resort to calling the police.
Wow.
Yeah. And I remember bits and pieces from that night, but I don't remember.
So your memory of the actual night is vague.
Mm-hmm.
Looking at you here, it's just so hard to believe.
No, and I even, now in my current state, I can't imagine ever being like that.
Yeah.
But the thing with mental illness is it can hit at any time, and it can hit anyone.
Yeah.
And you might think you've got your shit under control, but I think everyone has the potential to end up in a state like that with the right circumstances.
Yeah. What was the recovery stage like? So you got sent in after a night with your girlfriends, and they kind of witnessed the fact that you were in an altered state of mind, and you probably weren't the safest to be around.
Yeah.
Once you had been admitted, what was your experience like in there? And I guess the aftercare as well, once you had gotten out.
Well, I really hated my time in that place.
Okay.
And I think, from where you would have been, you would have seen that I hated it as well, because I was posting about it, and I called 000 so many times as well. Like the fact they let me have my phone and access to social media and a working telephone in a place like that in the state I was in is so upsetting for me, because the relationships I destroyed and the damage I did to my career, and I don't know just how bad I made things. I don't know. I don't want to get into that, but I don't think...
Do you think there was some good in it, though?
I do, because I wouldn't be sitting here discussing it now.
Yeah.
And, I might not have made it public at all had I not had my phone. And there's hopefully someone watching this and going, oh, I'm not so ashamed of my episode with mental illness or my ongoing mental illness. Because the thing is, if I'd been in a car accident or I had any sort of other debilitating thing happen to me, I would have no issue sitting here and discussing it. I don't think anyone in the world would have an issue discussing it if it was something that was physical. However, when it's something that's mental, people just do not seek help necessarily. They do not talk about it publicly. They feel strange bringing it up. It's such a shameful thing. Yeah, it is. And I don't think it should be. You know, after my experience, I'm like, well, I've had so much judgment from people, and people I know personally, not just online, and I think it's the people you know personally that hurt the most.
Yeah.
But like I said, if I had cancer, if I had anything else,
and you were sharing
if
that
I was in a car accident, it'd be like, people would be like, oh, poor thing, and no one that I know or anyone online would dare to say anything that was negative about it. It would be nothing but support. But as soon as you come out with mental illness related things, or you end up showcasing your mental illness online, whether you choose to or not, you're open for judgment and criticism.
Can I just say, Stefania, not because you're just a close friend of mine, but I just find it so incredible that you're sharing this like story with us, and that it is incredibly courageous within the industry that we work in. Like, I feel like I'm about to cry, but
I don't know. Like, I'm probably going to lose work, and I know I have already. Like, I had some high-profile clients following me that just ran a mile after, I went on my social media in the mental institution. Like,
but like it's always, you know, on social media particularly, it's always nice and shiny from the outside, but people need to realize that it's not always that way. And just thank you. I just wow. And I guess, is there anything at this point in time that is keeping you in check? Are you doing anything? Are you investing time in yourself? Are you meditating? Is there any type of practice that is daily that is really helping you kind of stay in check and not actually, potentially go through a psychotic episode again?
I couldn't just turn around and do a 180. I think I've been taking steps to better myself more and more. And what I've done that I think is such a huge achievement for me personally is to completely quit marijuana.
Okay.
And to quit smoking. I don't smoke cigarettes and I don't smoke marijuana anymore, and I'm not interested in touching any drugs again in my life, because I know that if I'm in a fragile state of mind or anything, I just know that I'm susceptible to anything happening to me again. And so I just don't want to take that risk. So for me, having quit all those things is such an achievement, and it's something that I do keep practicing every day, and I do remind myself. And yes, occasionally it's becoming less and less. I'll get the urge to have a joint or smoke some marijuana.
Having a stressful day.
And then I think back to how in the past I would just reach for a joint, but like I said, the urge is becoming less and less. But I do have to remind myself it's just not worth it.
Yeah.
And what good is it going to do? It's not going to do any good in the long term. And then, I suppose just looking after my health in the sense, not smoking, eating correctly. I want to move more and more to a vegetarian sort of lifestyle, because I think just also for my mental state, knowing that I'm not contributing to the harming of animals and the deforestation of our planet and things like that, I think would be really nice to sort of have in the back of my mind. And it's sort of a nice sort of calming thing to know that you're doing your part for the planet.
And you're making a difference in that aspect. Yeah. What does like a day in the life of Stefania look like? What does a day in the life of Stefania? Is it like, do you get up and stay in your PJs all day, or like?
Some days definitely I do. Yeah.
Okay. Wait, what?
Other days I have to get up really early for a flight, but that's not too often.
Okay.
It's terrible. I'll often roll over, reach for my phone when I wake up in the morning and jump on social media.
Straight away. Just scroll.
Not proud of it, but I do it. I want to definitely start controlling my use of social media as well, because I don't want that to replace other addictions that I had as well. And I think a lot of people are addicted to social media.
Such a fine line.
You
literally have to call yourself out. Before we wrap up on this segment, because it will continue, I would like to hear about your favourite fan story.
Fan story?
Yes. Because you have such a hardcore following. Like, you have fan art, you have, like, people sending you, like, photos of yourself you didn't even know were on the internet. Like, what is, or do you want to, like, have lunch to think about it?
Yeah, I might need to think about it, because I'll say something, then I'll think of another time or experience then that'll top that. And
Okay.
let's have lunch and then resume.
All right. Before we do, darling, I've just got one thing for you. Excuse me while I push myself into your... Just give me 1 second, please. So, a little birdie told me that it is your birthday.
It is my birthday.
So, I'm going to sing happy birthday to you Marilyn Monroe style, because I feel like you're the modern day Marilyn Monroe. So, happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Stefania. Happy birthday to you. Make a
Thank you
huge
so
wish.
much. Okay. For me, and I just have this memory of her just running towards me with her arms out, and she was so excited and so happy. And she was just the cutest thing. And online, be quite negative about it, and like I said, I've lost jobs, but there's been a lot of positivity that's come out of it as well, and recognition. Super supportive of women and how they want to express themselves, whether that be in the nude or fully dressed.
Okay.
Or somewhere in between. I strip show today.
What is your biggest strength? 10, 9, 8.
Oh my god! Oh my god!
What comes to mind first?
My biggest strength?
Yeah.